Hi guys, today we are going to cover time management interview questions. If you feel overwhelmed by this subject area, I get it. There are a ton of questions about time management and priorities in general. All I can tell you is there's a very strong likelihood that you will get at least one of these questions. Chances are multiple of these types of questions. What I did is I created some tips that will help you answer any of these types of questions. If you like my content, please like. If you have any comments specifically on time management priority questions, please comment below. And if you like my overall content, please subscribe. So before we dive in, I have to reiterate that this is an extensive topic, so I've tried to keep it mostly general, and I hope it helps. So item one, I'm going to go back to this for every interview question moving forward. Item one is prepare and practice. If you are not preparing your answer and then practicing that prepared answer, your competitors are going to beat you out because they are going to practice and they are going to prepare. So take those simple steps. It will really help. And I know I keep pushing it, but I'm going to continue to keep pushing it. Uh, Item two, this is tricky. I want to talk about goal oriented. So I intentionally moved this up to the second item. I was kind of playing around with what was most important to talk about. But when you talk about priorities and time management, you really want to be assessing and talking to your interviewer about, hey, if this doesn't align with my goals, I usually don't work on that task or I delegate that task or however you want to say it. Talk about revisiting your quarterly goals on a daily, weekly basis and tweaking them. And these are goals that you would have created with your lead anyway. So they're goals that are aligned with the priorities of the position and the organization. You can talk about SMART goals. You can talk about OKRs. Those are a couple of systems for talking about goals. This is tricky. If you don't normally talk about goals in terms of time management and prioritization, then don't use this tip, but it's one that I strongly recommend and it's one that I use. Item three, it's a good segue, methodology. So if you don't want to use goals as your methodology, use another methodology, just have one. So I think another great one is Stephen Covey, his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you have not read that book, definitely read it. He talks a lot about 4 quadrants, and you should be spending all your time in 2 quadrants. Important and urgent, and more importantly, important and not urgent. If you're working on what's important and not urgent, you'll always be working towards those goals. Another simple methodology you might have and share with your interviewer is, hey, every night before the following workday, I create a to-do list and I make sure that those are my top priorities for the next day. Whatever it is, have a methodology. It will really help you stand out in the interview. Item 4, tools. Wow, there are a ton of tools that people use, and some are very simplistic, from just using their email or their calendar or Excel or that to-do list that we mentioned in a doc. There's lots of project management, program management tools out there that a lot of people use that are great. You can talk about using those tools as well. But because we have so many great tools, talk about maybe one that you use. Item 5 is actions. And I didn't know quite how to bucket this one, but all I could think about is as you're talking through how you prioritize, how you manage your time, you want to be talking about some of the more simple actions that you take. And maybe that's bucketing times when you answer your email, or your ability to say no, or your ability to take breaks. I know that sounds like a weird one, but our brain only operates efficiently for a short period of time. So the ability to take breaks is a great strategy for time management, believe it or not. The last one, item 6, is delegating and asking for help. Anybody who's good at prioritizing and time management knows that within a project, or if you're running a team, knowing how to delegate is critical. And then if you are overwhelmed, and everybody gets overwhelmed, an ability to ask for help from your project teammates, from teammates just on your direct team, from your lead. These 2 critical skills can show that, hey, you don't try to take it all on yourself. You don't think and believe you're perfect. You know that sometimes it's important to ask for help. So those are all the tips. Lastly, I want to implement a little of my personal story, which is throughout my career, I have spent a lot of time interviewing recruiters. And I always do ask one time management question if I have the time, so it's not always, ironically. But the question I ask is simple: how do you manage your time? And surprisingly, a lot of candidates do struggle with this question, but the one answer I get most often is I calendar out time, I put blocks of time in my calendar, which always comes with my follow up question, which is how often do you stick to that calendar? Most common answer 100% of the time. That's a dishonest answer. Don't ever give that answer if your methodology is blocking out time on your calendar. Things happen, and sticking to 75, 80% of what you calendar would be amazing. So to say 100%, it just doesn't happen. Priorities come up, fires happen, so many things that are outside of your control will take you away from that scheduled time from time to time. So just keep that in mind as you're answering these questions. I hope this content helps. I know it's a big subject. If you like my content, please like. If you have any comments on time management, please let me know. And if you like my overall content, please subscribe. Thank you.